Have you ever walked into an English-speaking office, and as you interact with colleagues, you're left wondering if there's a secret code you don't know? You're not alone. Today, we're unveiling that code. In this episode, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of business etiquette, but with a twist. We're giving our ESL professionals the inside scoop on how to succeed in English-speaking offices. Sound interesting? Keep watching. Succeeding in English-speaking offices. ESL Business Etiquette Tips. Greetings, colleagues. Welcome to the 4 Business English Rundown. In this episode, we dive deep into the world of workplace etiquette for ESL professionals. Whether you're navigating office dynamics, improving communication, understanding office norms, or building strong relationships, we've got you covered. Stay tuned for valuable insights and practical tips to help you succeed in an English-speaking work environment. Master your business English skills with us and make your mark in the global workplace. Greetings, colleagues. In today's episode, we're embarking on a mission to decode the subtle yet vital aspects of workplace culture in English-speaking offices. Understanding these unspoken rules can be a game changer for ESL professionals, helping you thrive in diverse work environments. If you're ready to boost your confidence and make a great impression in your workplace, you're in the right place. Understanding workplace culture. So let's start by addressing the elephant in the room, workplace culture. Workplace culture is like the heartbeat of any office. It's the collective personality of an organization, shaped by values, traditions, and even everyday customs. In English-speaking offices, workplace culture can vary widely. It's essential to decode the specific culture of your workplace because it dictates how you interact with colleagues, superiors, and even clients. First, let's talk about hierarchy. In many English-speaking countries, workplaces have a hierarchical structure. This means there's a clear chain of command, supervisors, managers, directors, and so on. Understanding where you fit in this hierarchy is crucial. You might need to adjust your communication style depending on who you're speaking to. For example, if you're working in the United States, a country with a more relaxed hierarchy, you might address your manager by their first name. However, in some countries, like the UK, you might still use more formal titles such as Mr., Mrs., or Ms. in their last name. Next up, time management. Punctuality is paramount in English-speaking offices. Being on time for meetings and deadlines is a sign of respect. In many cases, if you're late, it can be seen as disrespectful or unprofessional. But remember, different cultures have different interpretations of on time. For example, in the United States, being a few minutes early to a meeting is a sign of respect. In contrast, in some South American cultures, it's not uncommon to start meetings late. Understanding these differences can save you from awkward moments. And even in the United States, if you're meeting socially, it may be common to be a little bit late. Usually when I started working in a new office, if we were meeting for a get-together, after work or on the weekend, I would often ask, well, we're supposed to be meeting at 7 o'clock. Is that 7 o'clock or is that 7:15, 7:30? What time should I really be there? Because in some groups, if you're there at 7, you're probably going to be the only one there at 7. Of course, one time I made that assumption and I was the only one there who wasn't there at 7. So it's always good to ask. Let's discuss open communication. Many English-speaking offices value open and honest communication. It's okay to express your opinions, ask questions, and provide feedback. But there's a fine line. You should aim to be respectful and not cross into being confrontational or disrespectful. In countries like Australia and the UK, it's also common to express your opinion, even if it disagrees with the majority. However, in some countries like Japan, it's generally more respectful to avoid confrontation and express your ideas more indirectly. So take this into account. Understanding these cultural nuances is your secret weapon in navigating English-speaking workplaces successfully. This brings us to our first crucial tip, adaptability. Example, if you're working in a US office and your manager says, "Call me Dave," that's an invitation to use their first name. However, if you're in a British office, your manager might prefer Mr. Smith until invited to use their first name. So be mindful of that. In general, it's probably better to be more formal in the beginning and then become less formal over time. For instance, your new boss may want you to call them by their first name, but if you just assume that and start doing that without them asking you to, that may turn them off. They may not like that. You're starting out too informal. So it's better to start out formal and then become more informal as you're invited to or over time. Now remember, the beauty of multicultural workplaces is that they're diverse and dynamic. Stay adaptable, learn from your colleagues, and don't be afraid to ask questions if you're unsure about something. Understanding workplace culture will give you the keys to open many doors in your professional journey. Communication dynamics. All right, now that we've got a grip on workplace culture, let's dive into another critical aspect, communication dynamics. This is where it gets fascinating because mastering how to express your ideas, listen actively, and interpret nonverbal cues can significantly impact your success. Here we go. First things first, active listening. You might be familiar with active listening from previous episodes. If not, then you may want to check some of the previous episodes out. But in English-speaking offices, active listening is gold. It's about being fully engaged when someone is speaking to you. This means maintaining eye contact, nodding, and occasionally responding with phrases like, I see, I understand, tell me more. It lets the speaker know that you are following them, that you're actively listening to them, you're paying attention. If your colleague is sharing their thoughts in a meeting, active listening might involve nodding when they make a point and asking follow-up questions to show you're engaged. Now let's talk about direct versus indirect communication. Different cultures have varying communication styles. Some cultures are quite direct and explicit in their language. Others are more indirect and rely on nonverbal cues or subtle language. If your American colleague says, I need this report by Friday, that's a very direct request. But if your Japanese colleague says, we're looking forward to your insights, it's more indirect. They expect you to provide your insights by a certain deadline without explicitly stating it. Business jargon. English-speaking offices love their jargon, and understanding it is like having a secret handshake. Jargon is specialized vocabulary or phrases used in specific industries or workplaces. In the tech industry, UX stands for user experience. In finance, ROI means return on investment. Learning industry-specific jargon can help you fit in. But of course, each company might have its own jargon. In one company, TPS reports might be very important. So if you work there, you know what they are. But if you work in the same industry but a different company, you might have no idea what a TPS report is. So if you start in a new workplace, one of the things you want to learn is that company's jargon. What terms do they use on a daily basis? Nonverbal cues. What's not said can be just as important as what is. Nonverbal cues include body language, facial expressions, and gestures. If your manager in the US gives you a thumbs up during a presentation, it's a positive signal. In some Asian cultures, silence and smiling can signify agreement. Professional tone. Maintaining a professional tone in your communication is vital. In English-speaking offices, this typically means being polite, using formal language when needed, and refraining from overly casual expressions unless invited. In a meeting with clients, it's advisable to use formal language like Mr., Mrs., or Sir, Madam. However, with your close team, you can usually be more casual and use first names. But this is also a subject of company culture, or even an office within the company might have a very different company culture. Maybe they're more informal, maybe they're more formal. Maybe they're more joking around, maybe you don't joke around. So each office might be a little bit different, even within the same company. So remember, effective communication is a blend of active listening, adapting to direct or indirect styles, understanding jargon, interpreting nonverbal cues, and maintaining a professional tone. These dynamics will help keep your communication channels clear and your professional relationships strong. Navigating office norms. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's all about understanding those unspoken rules that govern office life, and trust me, it's not just about what's on your job description. So fasten your seatbelts, let's go. All right, first stop, office hierarchy. It's crucial to understand who's who in the office. Every office has its hierarchy, and acknowledging it will save you from some awkward moments. As we've said before, in many English-speaking countries, it's common to address your superiors with titles like Mr. or Ms. until they invite you to use their first name. In American offices, this is probably instantaneously. They introduce themselves and say, "Call me by my first name," but if not, then you probably want to stick with Mr. or Ms. or whatever their title is. And hierarchy is more than just who's the boss or who's the boss's boss. There may be other people in the office that might be at your same level, but yet they're not. For instance, maybe there's someone who's been there, 10 years or 20 years. They've been doing it a long time. You might be in the same position. You might have the same title or similar title, but you'd be wise to show them some respect for their years of service and knowledge that they've accumulated over those years. I've worked in lots of offices where we had a secretary, and the secretary might be kind of low on the totem pole, but a good secretary is worth her weight in gold. She can make, or he can make a huge difference. I was always sure to always treat the secretary with respect because they can make your job easier or they can make it more difficult. But you always want the secretaries on your side, so treat them with respect as well. Meetings galore. English-speaking offices are known for their love of meetings, unfortunately. So get used to phrases like, "let's schedule a meeting," or "we'll meet about that later." For example, your colleague might say, "we need to schedule a meeting to discuss the upcoming project." This means it's time to pull out your calendar and find a suitable time to meet. Office decorum. Different offices have different etiquettes when it comes to things like phone use, dressing, or office setup. Observing your colleagues can be a great guide. For example, if your colleagues don't use their phones openly in meetings, it's a good idea to follow suit. Coffee break culture. The coffee break, the sacred ritual in many offices. It's not just about caffeine, it's often time for informal chats and bonding with colleagues. You might hear phrases like, "let's grab a coffee," which could mean, "let's take a short break and chat." In some offices, it's something similar, even stronger, for smoke breaks. I was never a smoker myself, but I've had colleagues that were, and sometimes it was actually a good time to network with maybe bosses who are also smokers, because they're meeting kind of informally. They do have that subculture of smokers or subculture of coffee drinkers, so it can be a good way to get to know some of your coworkers. Work-life balance. This is a term you'll come across often. In English-speaking offices, there's a growing emphasis on maintaining a healthy balance between work and personal life. Your manager might say, "we value work-life balance here," which means they encourage you to take time off for yourself outside of work. Or at least that's what they'd have you believe. So there you have it, navigating office norms. Remember, understanding the office hierarchy, embracing the meeting culture, respecting office decorum, and appreciating coffee breaks, and maintaining a work-life balance can set you up for a successful journey in an English-speaking workplace. Building strong relationships. This is where the magic happens in the office. Now let's talk about the importance of forming strong bonds with your colleagues and how to do it. It all starts with networking. In the business world, networking is your secret sauce. This means connecting with people in your field to share knowledge and build relationships. For example, don't miss the networking event next week. It's a great opportunity to meet people in our industry. The art of small talk. You'll hear this phrase a lot. It's about casual, light conversation that's not work-related. It's a way to get to know your colleagues or clients, potential clients, on a personal level. For example, during the office party, we had some great small talk about our hobbies. Team building. Many companies invest in team building activities to foster a sense of unity among their employees. This might include outings, workshops, or games to strengthen the team's bonds. Our team building retreat last month helped us connect on a whole new level. Mentorship. Finding a mentor can be a game changer for your career. It's about having an experienced colleague guide you and share their knowledge. Conflict resolution. It's not always smooth sailing. In any workplace, conflicts can arise. Knowing how to resolve them calmly and professionally is essential. Building strong relationships means you'll network effectively, master the art of small talk, embrace team-building activities, seek mentorship, and navigate conflicts with finesse. These are the keys to success in an English-speaking office. In today's video, we've learned key workplace culture dynamics that will empower you in an English-speaking office. We began by understanding workplace culture and the subtle nuances that drive the office environment. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize that mastering workplace etiquette is an ongoing journey. It's about continually applying what you've learned and adapting to different situations. Stay tuned for more insightful lessons from the 4 Business English Rundown.